Prince of Persia fans have been waiting nearly 13 years for a new game, but it's finally here with the Lost Crown, and plenty of people want to know how this stacks up to the franchise. We have a brand new design of Prince of Persia here, going with the Metroidvania route, and I know there's already been some mixed feelings I've seen in the comments from people wondering, how does this stack up, whether they wanted the 2D Prince of Persia or the 3D Prince of Persia. A lot of people weren't sure what to think with the Metroidvania approach, and it's definitely, I think, a challenging format to pull off when you don't know what you're doing. And in today's review, we're going to be talking about that exactly in depth, what this game does and how it works as a Metroidvania. My name is FightinCowboy and welcome to the review. Now, full disclosure up front, we obviously have finished the game at this point, so we're just going to be exploring around in some early areas. You might see some later game abilities, you might see some later game traversal mechanics, and I'll actually probably go in depth to discuss some of those as I talk about the platforming and the traversal potential. But we're not going to be doing any story spoilers or showing off late game areas. In terms of what you're going to see spoiler-wise, we're going to be, obviously going in depth into the combat and the traversal. So I just want to be upfront about that. But with that being said, let's jump in and talk about the game, because I will say Ubisoft has made an absolute banger of a Metroidvania game. Now, somebody that's never even played Prince of Persia, obviously went into this with no expectations for what the Prince of Persia franchise meant. The history of who the character was or what they were supposed to do. I approached this strictly from the perspective of, hey, this looks like a cool Metroidvania game, and that's what I want to experience. And I think that's exactly what I got here. I would go as far as to say as the only other Metroidvania that has actually stacked up against this for me personally has been Hollow Knight. It is that good. And there are a lot of reasons for that. The tightness of the combat, the tightness as well as the variety of the traversal mechanics, the simplicity of the map, the accessibility and design. There is a lot that this game does to really excel in making it an incredibly satisfying and responsive experience for the player. And I think that's something that's very important in a Metroidvania. When I think about what I want out of a Metroidvania, I want fun exploration, I like tight combat, and I want puzzles that are challenging but not overly punishing. And this game basically just went down my Metroidvania checkbox, and it hit every single box on the list. It was like, oh, you like this, you like this, you like this, got it. It almost feels like they made the game for me. That is how precise everything in my checklist was for this game. And I ended up having just an incredibly enjoyable experience as I played it. So outright, obviously already a lot of praise, but let's jump in and talk about why. So when it comes to the combat, there is a lot of potential going on with the combat here. We have the ability to we can go into a combat and do knock-ups. We can go into a combat and do knockdowns, bounce enemies off. We're able to chain our air attacks by doing dashes. We're able to kind of grip onto enemies, as you saw there. Obviously, a more late game ability there, but being able to, do these aerial combos and extend our combos multiple times, and then use certain traversal mechanics like that little grippy you saw. We can use that to reset our movement to effectively just kind of stay in the air indefinitely, and you end up having a combat flow that is incredibly satisfying as we're going through the game. Just able to pull off some absolutely sick combos as we go through this. Not only that though, but I think the expansion of certain abilities, like having access to our special abilities on top of our combos, there's a lot that really made the combat a lot of fun here. So we have, our basic combo, which is going to go into a 4-hit combo, but that can also be expanded upon further. There's certain things that can turn that into a 6-hit. We're able to knock enemies up. We have dash forward attacks. We have backstep attacks. We're able to jump back and follow up. So we have a big emphasis on that. Obviously, parries are incredibly powerful in this game. We also have the critical parries. I don't know if this guy will actually do a yellow attack. We gotta let him attack for a little bit and see if it'll work. We can break shields. We can do some fun stuff. One thing to do is do the blade beam, rewind time, do a second blade beam. So there's just so much going on here. And I think one of the things that I like the most is they did a really good job of fusing the traversal mechanics into the combat. What I mean by this is there's a lot of opportunities, like the one I just showed, like you know, setting a time rewind, doing a blade being rewinding, and doing a time rewind again. Or getting a hit in, and then getting a hit in, or hang on, let me see. So we're gonna, oh, he died instantly. Getting a hit in on an enemy, doing an air dodge, and then continuing your combo. Or getting a couple hits in, doing the double jump, and then continuing your combo. Or using the grip to jump onto an enemy to continue a combo. The game does a really good job of fusing together your platforming with your combat to create an experience that is extremely fluid, and one that really makes you feel like you're excelling when you gain a good mastery of those mechanics, and you're doing a good job at kind of showing off those mechanics and you know, pulling it together. That's going to be where this game really lights off, is that fusion of the platforming and the combat. The combat itself was just super enjoyable. In particular, I was a big fan of doing the kick-ups like you saw right there. We can do some really fun stuff with kick-ups, knocking enemies into the air and then essentially juggling them and doing all sorts of dirty combos on them. The Anthro abilities also definitely not to be understated. These are super satisfying, and Anthro is something that we build up as we continue to attack enemies and avoid damage. And the idea of the Anthro abilities is, you know, when you do them, you're going to get huge damage in, you're going to get iframe activation for the entire duration of the ability. And that's something I really like, because I feel like a lot of games you have these cool power abilities, but when you use the power abilities, it's like, oh, well, you got interrupted, your power ability is not going to go off. And that's something that I'm not as fond of, you know, like I want to use my power abilities. Let me use my power abilities and actually experience them. And that's something this game does very well. It's like, oh, you know, you've built up to the level 3 charge to use that power ability. It's going off. You're not getting interrupted. It's going off, and you're going to smash something. Absolutely. And that's something that I had a lot of fun with. Moving away from the combat, talking a little bit about the traversal, because some fun stuff here. So like, here's a good example, is we could just take this elevator up, but as you get later on into the game, we could do like, you know, we'll toss this up, teleport to the chakram, and then dash off the wall and double jump up. And look at that, now we're up into a new area without using the elevator. And the game really does promote kind of freedom of exploration with that. Here's a fun puzzle where these things will move depending on the direction you're looking, so that can really make stuff challenging depending on the direction you're going in. In particular, this, I don't remember if it's, yeah, it is this zone. There's like 4 puzzles in this area in particular that were just absolutely wild to me. Some of the best puzzles I've ever had the experience of doing in a Metroidvania. Just, you know, really good, I guess, brain teasers, we'll call them, where you had to go through a very specific timing of things to pull them on off. And that's something I had a lot of fun experiencing, figuring out, you know, how do I get through this? What is the solution here? And slowly coming to the realization. Another thing I really liked about the puzzles in this game is there are times where they're extremely challenging, but they're not extremely punishing. What I mean by this is you hit the spikes, you're gonna take a little bit of health, it's just gonna rewind you back. That's it. It's no like, oh, you hit the spikes, you're dead. Go all the way back to the past tree, game over. Like, no, the game wants you, it absolutely wants you to get through the puzzles. And because of that, it's going to create an environment where the whole idea is trial and error. It wants you to get through the puzzles. Even if you die, it doesn't matter. And it's just going to rewind time. And it's going to say, do it again. Do it again and get it right. But at the same time, if you're somebody that really struggles on puzzles and you just can't pull that off, the game even has, like, we go over to, where's it at? We're in the system. We go to accessibility. There's all sorts of stuff here to help with people that just suck at stuff like that. We have platforming and assist. We have auto unfreeze, so you don't have to mash the buttons. You know, we we can modify the parry timing or the dodge timing for people that struggle with combat. And so even if you're somebody that you know, likes puzzles, but you're like, oh, you know, I kind of struggle with the super tight platforming sections, because there are definitely some of them, you'll still be able to experience this game. And that's something that I think is really cool. Looking at, here's another one of, you can see how puzzles like this, it's like, all about that precision of movement. The block ones, you know, lots of very, very precise, I hope you're good at timing type puzzles in the game. I actually had a lot of fun with that stuff, I think. especially late game. Once we have like all of our traversal mechanics together, I think that is where stuff really starts to kind of shine, as you end up getting into, you know, your like stuff that like previously you would need to do this. Once you have the double jump, oh, I can just run by it. And I noticed that a lot is you know, as we gain our traversal, puzzles that previously would have been, you know, something that's hard to deal with, late game they don't matter. You're just like, I'm just gonna use my new ability to instantly bypass this and go do something else, because that's you know, that's how it is. That's how it is. I no longer need you. I have a double jump. I have double jump. I have grippy. I have the ability to you know, throw my chakram through a grate and teleport to it. And so there's some very fun stuff late game with how the puzzles kind of open up that allows you to really push things farther. Kind of going through here. I'm trying to remember where this goes. Yeah, okay, we'll go through this. Talking a little bit about the story, I will say the story didn't necessarily blow me away. It was a solid story, and there were, that's just over here dancing. There were a couple parts in the story in particular that had some really good twists that I enjoyed, but for the most part, I think the story was fairly generic. Like I said, a couple twists here and there, but I don't think this game's gonna win like narrative of the year or anything. At the same time though, for me personally, you know, when I'm playing a Metroidvania, story isn't what I'm looking for. You know, I take a look at Hollow Knight, for example. For the most part, you know, it's very charming in terms of the characters and how the characters are you know, just kind of like make their little Hollow Knight noises and whatnot, but nobody's like, oh man, the writing of Hollow Knight blew me away. It's such a fantastical story that really pushed the boundary beyond, you know, that's not what I'm here for. But even then, you know, I think it's fair to say the story wasn't bad, but obviously it did not, it's not going to win any rewards for narrative. Moving on from there, in terms of sound design and music, I think the game does a very good job. Sounds are very responsive when I'm doing various attacks and parries. You know, all the sound clips that play are exactly what I would want. Very consistent. You know, I think the sound design in general here felt good. I think the sounds of attacking and platforming, the little swooshes on the dashes were all things that were fairly enjoyable. Here's another thing that's really nice. We have this, basically as we unlock new abilities, we can go to Artaban here and go into a free challenge, which will allow us to, you know, just practice our combo potential on enemies and you know, like let me do. Go do dash do. And I want to go up. Oh, come on. Up. I think I can actually knock this guy away and then do a. Hit the wrong button. Hang on. Like stuff like this. Yeah, so like stuff like that, man, there's just so much you can do with the combat in this game. That's just super satisfying with the air juggle combos. I know we got a little off track there, but you know, glad we came by Artaban to show that off. But yeah, the sounds of combat and going into our specials, very satisfying. Music in general, very thematic. We have this like very nice kind of bell chimes that play when we're at certain rest spots. Very relaxing, kind of giving you that sense of like, hey, this is a safe spot. You know, I have security while I'm here. So I think they did a very good job on sound design and music. And while obviously I'm not of Persian descent or know all that much from the region, at least the people in the comments that are more familiar with that culture have already been saying that the game does a really good job of kind of representing the theme and the music of that culture. So you know, I don't know how accurate that is, but if it is accurate, that's something that's really cool to see, I think. So whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah, you can do just once you have like all the traversal abilities and just being able to like loop around and yoink enemies and do whatever is very, very satisfying for sure. Let's see how we can go this way. So in general, in terms of things I didn't like, to be honest, there really isn't anything. Even as I got to like the end of the game and I did like a mini review, I was trying to think back, you know, because usually when I get through a game, one of the things I want to think is like, all right, was there anything that stood out here that I really didn't like? Was there anything that I think just didn't quite get the job done? This is fun. I can control these guys, and now they're gonna fight against each other. We're gonna go into this and take the both out. And honestly, like I kind of said at the start, this game really just went down my checklist of, you know, what makes a good Metroidvania, and it hit every single box. I mean, we have a smooth and responsive dodge with like counterattack options out of it. We have a, you know, gotta do the shield break on those guys. We have platforming that's satisfying and difficult, but at the same time not overly punishing. We have a steady progression of upgrades that go on. One of the big things I haven't even talked about yet is the map. I absolutely love the map design in this game. So, and not just like the layout of the map, but like up in the top left, lower city, I can see that I have found 4 of the 4 things for memory. I can see that I have found all 5 of the secret notes. I can see that there's 1 coin here somewhere, and there's 2 little caches of gems that I have now found. Then on top of that, of course, we have a full marker system. Like, hey, there were traps over here. I don't know what this is. There's a monster over here. This is something important. That's a locked door. Here's an NPC. Here's some gems. But oh, that's not enough. Let's say you're like, you know, let's try to find a good example. Let's just pretend like, oh, I need double jump to get past here. You can hit this, you can save the vision, and then at any time you can go back in and say, what was this? Oh, okay, that was the double jump. I need to go back when I have double jump. And that is honestly such an absolutely insane feature. That is something I've not seen before in a Metroidvania, and I think it needs to be in every single Metroidvania moving forward. It is absolutely, like, it is a huge, huge step forward from the map exploration perspective, being able to create and leave little memories on the map that you can then use as reference points to come back to and remember what it is that you were exploring later. That is so incredibly useful. It can't be overstated, because, you know, somebody that likes these games and plays a lot of them, I was using that constantly. I would create memories. You know, I ended up using more times I just created that than even using the traditional map system of like, hey, this is a marker, this is an enemy. I didn't even end up using those, and we still had them just because why not? Let's give them to the player. But I ended up just being like everything, like, okay, this was, I would just create markers and then be like, all right, yep, that's a double jump. Okay, that's going to be a grip area. Okay, this is going to be a, I need to like have some type of teleport to get through here. Like, it was so incredibly useful for going back through and farming, exploring the map, having those different areas marked off and knowing what I wanted to hit later and knowing the reason why I didn't go to a particular area at a particular time. Like, just absolutely phenomenal. There's no other way to describe it. And that's probably the biggest thing I think this game brings to the Metroidvania genre is that update in terms of map design. I can't overstate enough just how phenomenally good it is. Here's another good one. So, like, you know, let's say I want to explore, is this a death pit? Is this a death pit? No, it's not a death pit. But, you know, I could have created my little image there, and I could have used that image during the jump to test that. I didn't end up using my image. Should go down, or we'll go down there and explore. Talk a little bit more about the traversal as we do it. But so super nice map mechanics, super responsive exploration, super responsive combat. Like, this game is an easy 5 out of 5 for me. You know, absolutely nothing about this game I didn't enjoy. Like, okay, I see now that I need to jump down and I'm gonna slide on this wall so that I can hit this platform. You know, and it's stuff like that, pulling from that exploration, which is what made this so enjoyable to me. I don't know what I'm supposed to do down here. I think this is just there's probably a treasure down here that I landed and then had to hop back out. Obviously, like I said, we're at the end of the game, so I've done most of my exploration to this point. Very satisfying, very crisp movement, very nice. Like, honestly, this just sounds like a big promotional video for the game at this point. But like, I mean, I guess the only thing that they maybe could have done better is maybe make the story a little bit more engaging. And there's a couple NPCs that are involved in the story that we don't really hear that much about. Actually, yeah, now that I think about it, there's one NPC that I don't know what happened to them. I did pretty good map exploration, so I don't think they were like hidden as a boss somewhere. So there you go. That's at least one negative for the game. I don't know what happened to one particular NPC. They just kind of like vanished after saying mean things to me, and they never came back. But other than that, yeah. I mean, honestly, game is an absolute banger. I know I will say a lot of people have been like, oh, this seems kind of pricey for Metroidvania. If price is your concern, do the Ubisoft Plus thing. Ubisoft has their little game subscription thing. You can get like a month of that for 15 bucks, play this entire game, beat the game in a month, and then just end your subscription, which that's what I would just suggest doing if you're worried about paying full price for it, because that's I think they priced this in at what? It was like I don't know, I've heard some people say it's 60. I think it's 50 though. I think it might be like regional pricing maybe, is what the people that are talking about 60 are referring to. But yeah, I mean, if price is your concern with a Metroidvania, absolutely just do the Ubisoft Plus thing. Do that, check it out. You can check out the Avatar game while you're at it, see if that's any good. I ended up playing it for a little bit, but didn't really appeal to me in the long term. There we go, we got something we can actually fight. I say that, but this thing is absolutely about to die. Oh! We got it, it's dead. Yeah, honestly, like, it's just, this is it. When it comes to a Metroidvania, like I said, this game hits all the boxes. We have phenomenal combat, we have awesome traversal, we have fluid mechanics that are super smooth, we have tons of collectibles on the map that you're gonna want to hunt down and uncover. We have, you know, this game, it just does it all, which is wild to me, because I think the biggest thing is when I think about Ubisoft in particular, you know, the last thing I think about is phenomenal Metroidvania. I think Ubisoft has become kind of synonymous with games that are very, you know, copy-pasty. You look at the Assassin's Creed franchise, you look at the Far Cry franchise, and it's a lot of the same. It's a lot of like, yep, we did this before, okay, looks like it's, you know, we're going back in, we're doing the same thing, but in a new place this time. And so seeing something like this, seeing something that is just, you know, original and fresh and tight combat and exploration, this is not something I expected from Ubisoft, and definitely I think the most, honestly, this is probably one of the best games from them that I have played in recent memory. Like, I just had an absolute blast going through this game from start to end. I guess one final closing thought, without spoiling anything, I'll just say the final boss of this game is one of the most hype, satisfying final bosses I have fought. Probably the most hype, satisfying final boss I have fought in a Metroidvania. I got to the final boss and it was like, there's no way, holy shit, I can't fucking believe. Like, the final boss was incredibly satisfying. Like, cannot stress that enough. And I think that's, you know, well, I'm not big on like the final boss has to be perfect. I think capping off the game with a like really standout final boss encounter, it's a phenomenal way to kind of close out the experience. So yeah, my recommendation is this is an absolute must play. You know, for the first game of the year, hands down banger, 5 out of 5. I wouldn't be surprised if this snatches a couple awards when the Game Awards come around, because this was just a phenomenal journey. And especially if you're a Metroidvania fan, I cannot recommend this game enough. So I'm wrapping things up here. I have a full 34 series Let's Play that's going to be dropping. Make sure to check it out if you're interested in more. Otherwise, thanks for coming on by, and I'll see y'all next time.